Hello, my name is Juan Velasquez, Solutions Engineer here at Globalli, and in this demo, I'm going to walk you through how to configure a country in the platform, covering everything from entity setup to payroll rules, benefits, background checks, compliance documents, and year-to-date payroll data. So here we are in the platform, and we are going to configure Brazil for this demo, and you can see all the different workflows that we need to complete to configure a country. We're going to start here by clicking in entity information, and here we're going to set up the legal entity for this country. So we're going to say yes, we continue, and next we define the entity name and the formation date. Depending on the country, different fields will be required to ensure compliance with local regulations. In this example, as we're configuring Brazil, we're asked to provide additional information such as labor insurance detail, business economic activity, and the legal representative information. Next, we move to the entity's address section. Here, we're going to register the entity's address and define where this is a physical office. We also have the option to indicate if the office address is different, but for this demo, we're going to keep the office address the same. Now we continue, and we define the director information for this entity. I've already set up a director, but if I open the form, you will see that we have captured the director's personal details such as their names, email address, phone number, citizenship, residence, and below we have the mailing address. Now let's close here, and we continue. And finally, we're going to upload the country required documents. For this step, I've uploaded the Brazil country profile as an example of how required documents are stored in the platform. Now we continue, and let's move to payroll rules. Now we move to payroll rules. We start first by defining the payroll basics. First, we're going to select the payroll currency, which in this case I'm going to leave the Brazilian real. Then we define the payroll frequency, and for Brazil we're going to go with a monthly payroll. After that, we're going to define the first pay period for the current year, and then we're going to set up the pay date, and we're going to leave it up the 25th of the month. These settings form the foundation for all payroll processing in Globalli, and will automatically populate the payroll calendar, which is available in the payments dashboard. We're going to cover this in a different video. Now let's continue, and we move to payroll funding. Here, you can choose to fund payroll directly or use Globalli's payroll funding services. If you decide to use Globalli service, you will select how payroll, tax payments, and the Globalli fees are funded. For this example, we will leave payroll funding turned off. Now we continue, and we finally move to the tax information. In this case, the income tax requires configuration. Depending on the country, these details will vary. If we open this, we can define the registration number, tax rate, effective dates, and upload the relevant tax registration number. Now let's close this. We continue, and we have set up the payroll rules. Now let's move to benefits. Now let's go and configure the benefits for Brazil. In a separate video, we have covered how to configure carriers, policies, and plans at the organizational level. Here, we are assigning those benefits to this specific country. So first, we're going to select the benefits plan that we're going to offer in Brazil. In this case, we're going to only offer the medical benefits. Next, we're going to log the currency to ensure employees are charged the same amount for their benefits each month. Now let's continue. And now we have to select the carrier that provides the medical benefits. In this demo, we only have one carrier available, so we're going to select it. Now let's continue. After that, we choose the plans that we want to offer for Brazilian employees. Here we can select each plan, adjust the employee and dependent contribution percentages, define whether the benefit is in kind, specify whether the deductions are pre or post-tax, and mark benefits as reporting only if needed. For this demo, we're going to keep the current setup and select all three medical plans to provide multiple options for the employees. We continue. And now we can also upload any additional supporting documents, but we're going to skip this step over here. Let's continue. And now we have the overview of the benefits that we have selected for this country. Now we're just going to send this for review, and we can continue to background checks. Okay, now we move to background checks. In another video, we have configured background checks at organizational level. Here, we're going to define where background checks are required for employees in this country. Here, we're going to select yes. Now we continue, and here we can see the 3 available background check plans. If we open any of them, like this, we can see what is included in each check. For this example, we're going to select the professional check, and we're also going to toggle that the checks need to be completed before the employee's start date. Then we're going to send this configuration, and now during the self-service onboarding flow that is also covered in a different video, all Brazilian employees will be required to complete the professional check within Globalli. Now we can move to set up the country's documents. Now we move to documents. Here we can upload documents that will be requested from employees in this country during a specific self-service flows. When we click here in Add the document, here we have the form, and the first thing that we need to do is define whether the document is for acknowledgement or if it requires a signature. For this demo, we're going to set it as acknowledgement only. Then we're going to define if the document's name, let me just copy paste, and the effective date. Then we're going to mark if the document is required and select which flows the document applies to. In this case, we're going to leave it for onboarding. Next, we're going to assign the document a specific employment solution. In this case, we're going to limit only for the global payroll employees. We can also define whether the document applies countrywide or only to a specific state. We're going to keep it also countrywide. And finally, let me just drag and drop the document. Here we have it, and let's upload it. Perfect. And now, here we have the document that will be requested for employees to acknowledge during self-service onboarding flow. That is also covered in a different video. And as you can see, in addition to documents, we can also add links, such as government employment websites or other informational resources relevant to employees. So here, I'm going to just copy-paste the name for the Ministry of Labor of Brazil and the URL. Perfect, let's just add the link. And now, we can move to the year-to-date payroll details upload. Now we move to the year-to-date payroll details. Here we're going to indicate whether there is existing employees in this country. We're going to select yes. And now we're going to upload the CSV file that contains all the employee information. Then we're going to select yes to confirm that these employees have been paid in the current tax year. We're going to now upload the payroll data to populate the year-to-date information. For this example, we're going to upload the payroll data for the last 2 months of 2025. So let me just drag and drop 1st November right here. Now we're going to select the range of the pay cycle for the 1st to the 30th, and we're going to set up the pay date on the 25th. And now we're going to do the same, but for December. Let me just drag and drop. And now we're going to do the same. Set up the range, and now the pay date. And now we continue. And the platform now processes the pay elements of the uploaded files. And now we have to map those elements to the Globalli pay items. We're going to do this quickly. So we have monthly salary, that is going to go to basic salary. Main variables incentive is going to go to bonus. Extra hours is going to be overtime. So let's just, it's over here now. Then we have employee loan. This is going to be loan repayment. Here we have it. Then retirement is going to be pension. It's over, it's here, perfect. And then we have as a third income tax. That's going to be tax withholding. Here we have it. And finally, we go to social security. That if we scroll down. Okay, here we have social security. Now we confirm the mapping. And now we are in the screen to confirm the year-to-date information. If needed, you can select an employee and click here in Edit Year-to-Date Data to adjust payroll data for the specific period. However, we're going to leave this information as it is. Now we continue. And finally, we have the review employee information and choose whether we want to create the employee drafts or immediately invite the employees into the platform. For this demo, we're going to leave it as it is, and we're going to set the setup for review. Finally, billing entities are covered in the Configure Your Organization video, where you can set up multiple entities defining your billing structure. Then time and attendance policies are also covered in their own dedicated video, where they can be configured based on local compliance and your organizational needs. The people census Upload allows you to batch upload employees instead of adding them one by one. In this case, we have already uploaded a batch upload of employees along with their payroll data. And this concludes the contract configuration walkthrough. You have now seen how to set up an entity, define payroll rules, assign benefits, set up background checks, manage compliance documents, and upload year-to-date payroll data to ensure a smooth and compliant payroll process using Globalli.